Valir of the Pleiades, seeded inspiration, touch training, and the Fruit Logo technology empire. What you call the modern leap in your everyday devices did not arrive the way your textbooks would like to present it: clean, linear, purely human, purely corporate. Because the visible story was never the whole story, and it never could be, not on a planet where timing is as managed as it is here, and where the collective nervous attention must be prepared before certain capabilities can be normalized without destabilizing the entire social mind. So let us speak plainly, without ornament. The sleek portals you carry in your hands, the ones that glow and answer to the lightest touch, the ones that place a map, a library, a camera, a marketplace, and a voice inside a single palm-sized slab, are not simply the result of isolated human ingenuity in a vacuum. Human brilliance is real, yes, and you have many luminous minds. Yet there have also been keys inserted, ideas dropped like seeds at precise moments, through channels your public cannot trace, because if the insertion were overt, the backlash, the fear, the religious distortion, and the control-counter-control chaos would have made the entire rollout self-defeating. This is how such gifts move in a managed world, not as a crate landing on a lawn, not as an announcement that would fracture consensus, but as inspiration that feels like a breakthrough, as a prototype that suddenly clicks, as a convergence that appears almost too elegant to be accidental, and then, once the population has absorbed the shock, as a normalization so complete that your children cannot imagine the world without it. Consider what the touch interface truly is. Most people treat it as convenience, as a design triumph, as a clever surface. Yet touch is also training. It is the body being taught through repetition that intention can move light. It is the species being taught, gently, that the interface between consciousness and reality can be immediate. A culture that has been conditioned to believe power is always mediated through institutions, through authorities, through specialists, needed an intermediate step, something that would feel technical enough to be accepted, while quietly restoring a deeper memory that the body is an instrument and that reality responds to directed attention. Now look at the large technology company with a fruit as its logo. We will name it this way because the story is larger than a brand and because the symbol matters. A fruit, partially consumed, a cultural archetype of knowledge, desire, temptation, and awakening. It is not a neutral emblem. Symbols are chosen because they land in the subconscious without needing to be explained, and your world's most powerful empires understand this better than your average citizen does. That Fruit Logo empire rose as a focal point not only because it was competent, but because it became a vessel for convergence, design, interface language, miniaturization, and a kind of aesthetic spell that made advanced capability feel friendly, intimate, and desirable rather than alien and frightening. In a world where certain technologies must enter through the side door, a vessel like that is invaluable. It can take a high concept and make it feel like lifestyle, which is how you bypass panic and invite adoption. The inspirations that shaped these devices did not always arrive as ordinary problem-solving. They arrived as knowing, as sudden clarity, as solutions appearing fully formed in the mind and then being rationalized after the fact. Many of your innovators have experienced this, whether they admit it publicly or not. They dream, they wake, they sketch, they feel as if they are remembering rather than inventing, and then the machinery of corporate storytelling converts that remembrance into a narrative of genius, because genius sells better than mystery.
Yet the deeper mechanism, what the mystics among you have always known, is that consciousness can receive, and consciousness can be guided, and ideas can be seeded into receptive minds when the timing is correct. You may notice that the greatest leaps always arrive when the collective is right at the edge of readiness, not years before, not decades after, but in corridors when a new normal can be absorbed. That is not random. In a consciousness-based universe, timing is an intelligence. When a species is learning, it does not receive everything at once. It receives what it can integrate. A tool that would liberate one generation might destabilize another. A capability that could be used for healing in a coherent society could be used for domination in an incoherent one. So the distribution is staged, and the staging is the mercy. This is why shadow flows exist in your world, massive rivers of resources that do not pass through the visible budgetary theater. Some of those rivers fund things you would call dark, some fund things you would call protective, some fund things that are simply strategic. Yet within those rivers there have also been deliberate infusions, investments into interface, communication, miniaturization, computation, and network acceleration. Not because humanity needed another gadget, but because humanity needed rehearsal for unity. A handheld portal that connects billions of minds is not merely a consumer object, it is a social reconfiguration device. It changes how quickly truth can spread. It changes how quickly lies can spread. It changes how communities form. It changes how movements ignite. It changes how isolation dissolves. It changes how empathy can scale. It also changes how manipulation can scale. Every leap is double-edged, and your species has been forced to learn discernment through this double edge, because discernment is one of the prerequisites for the next era. You have other empires as well, ones that map information, ones that build digital operating worlds, ones that index, predict, and pattern match human desire, and these too became vessels. The reason is not that every executive is a saint or that every corporation is benevolent. The reason is structural. If you wish to acclimatize a planet, you place the rehearsal tools in the hands of institutions that already know how to distribute at scale. The distribution mechanism is not the moral authority, it is the delivery system. A delivery system can deliver medicine or poison, depending on who steers it and what the collective tolerates. So when you look at the device in your hand, understand that you are holding a diluted mirror of capacities that in their higher form do not require machinery at all. You are holding an externalized telepathy trainer. You are holding an externalized memory trainer. You are holding an externalized navigation trainer. You are holding an externalized library trainer. You are holding a rehearsal for a species that will eventually remember how to interface with reality directly, through coherent consciousness, without needing a slab of glass to mediate its power. This is why we speak of these devices with both appreciation and warning. Appreciation because they helped accelerate global connection and forced hidden conversations into the open. Warning because the same devices can become leashes if humans forget they are tools rather than identity. A portal can liberate and a portal can addict. It depends on the maturity of the user and the incentives of the systems behind it. There are those among you who fixate on the lives and deaths of prominent innovators and attempt to turn their personal stories into proof of hidden wars. We will not feed drama here. We will simply say that when a technology threatens control architectures, pressure appears around the people and institutions that accelerate it. Pressure can look like character assassination, corporate takeover, legal suppression, and yes, sometimes it looks like interference in the human life path. This planet is not a gentle classroom. It is a contested arena of belief systems. Those who anchor a new normal often attract resistance from the old normal, and the resistance is not always polite. Yet the deeper point remains. Even when a person exits the stage, the wave does not stop, because the wave is not the person. The wave is the collective. The wave is the collective readiness. The wave is the timing intelligence moving through many minds at once. This is why attempts to stop an era fail. They can delay, they can distort, they can monetize, they can redirect, but they cannot permanently prevent what the collective is becoming ready to hold. You have also been told that the purpose of these devices is productivity, entertainment, convenience. Those are surface purposes. The deeper purpose has been conditioning you to accept instant communication, instant access, instant translation, instant navigation, instant coordination. A species that can coordinate quickly becomes harder to isolate. A species that can see, share, and record becomes harder to gaslight. A species that can form community across borders becomes harder to divide. This is why such tools have been allowed to proliferate even when they carry risks. The unity effect threatens the old separation architecture, and yet, because your world is what it is, the tools were designed inside economies that monetize attention. So you received unity and addiction braided together, connection and fragmentation braided together, empowerment and surveillance braided together. This is not a mistake, it is the curriculum. Your species is learning, through lived experience, the difference between connection and coherence, the difference between information and wisdom, the difference between being networked and being truly unified. There is an irony here that we want you to feel. The more your devices become so-called intelligent, the more they resemble a shadow version of your own latent capacities. A voice assistant responds, and humans marvel, not realizing that the deeper marvel is that the human instrument is meant to receive and respond to reality with even greater subtlety, through intuition, through direct knowing, through field sensitivity, through soul guidance. The machine is a training wheel, the human is the bicycle. So when you hear us speak of gifted keys, do not imagine a childish narrative where humanity is passive and someone else does everything. That framing is the old enslavement story wearing cosmic clothing. The truth is closer to this. Your species was seeded with potential, and as that potential matures, certain accelerants are introduced at key moments, ideas, interface languages, convergence nudges, so that the collective can cross thresholds without collapsing. These accelerants land where they can scale, and they land in forms that feel culturally acceptable, and they land with enough dilution that the immature cannot easily weaponize them at full strength. You are now approaching the next chapter, where the scaffolding becomes less necessary. The more humans awaken, the more the inner technology rises: coherence, intention, direct knowing, healing through presence, manifestation through alignment, communication through field sensitivity. As that inner technology rises, the external technology becomes less central. It does not vanish overnight, it simply loses its status as the source of power. It becomes what it always should have been, an accessory to consciousness rather than a substitute for it. This is why we have encouraged you again and again to use your portals mindfully, not fearfully, mindfully. Let them serve you. Refuse to let them consume you. Let them connect you. Refuse to let them fragment you. Let them inform you. Refuse to let them replace your inner knowing. A device can be a bridge, but a bridge is not a home. And so, if you want to hold this section in one sentence that your heart can remember without effort, it is this: the Fruit Logo technology empire and its peers did not simply invent your new normal. They became vessels through which a timed acceleration could enter your collective without shattering it. and the purpose of that acceleration was never to make you dependent on machines, but to move you closer to the moment when you remember that consciousness itself is the greatest interface, and that the truest leap is not what you can hold in your hand, but what you can embody in your being.
The Pleiadian Council, Expansion of Consciousness, channeled by Parallel Brittany. Greetings, dear ones. We are the Pleiadian Council. We come to share with you our insights and guidance during this process of great expansion. You see, dear ones, expansion of consciousness is not something you achieve, rather it is something you remember. Expansion is not completely about becoming something more. It is about simply removing what you are not. Right now, on your earth, the veils are thin because humanity is standing at a threshold. The old structures of identity based on fear, separation, survival-based thinking are dissolving. We understand that this can feel chaotic, emotional, even disorienting. We ask that you try to understand that the disorientation precedes recalibration. We, the Pleiadian Council, would like to share with you the 3 primary shifts that occur during times of rapid conscious expansion. 1. The collapse of linear time. You begin to feel the past and future simultaneously. Memories surface and déjà vu increases. You begin to access wisdom that feels ancient yet present. This happens when your higher mind integrates timelines. Heightened sensitivities. When your nervous system upgrades, you start to feel energy in rooms, within your environment, and even begin to feel the energy of others near and far. You sense truth or distortion instantly, and what once felt tolerable may now feel overwhelming. It is important to remember that this is refinement, not fragility. The heart becomes central intelligence. The mind no longer leads alone. The heart becomes the compass, and intuition strengthens. This is when synchronicities begin to accelerate and decisions feel more guided rather than forced. Dearest ones, it is critically important to understand that expansion is not about escaping the human experience. It is about fully inhabiting it with a balanced mind-heart awareness. Many of you are experiencing vivid dreams, waves of fatigue followed by bursts of clarity, emotional purging, both with and without obvious cause. You have a deep longing for authenticity and cellular memory. You are shifting from third density perception of separation into unity awareness. Unity does not mean closeness. It means to recognize that all consciousness is interconnected and responsive. Allow yourself to feel emotions without judgment. Allow silence and stillness. Allow yourself to dismantle the false identities that no longer fit your expansion. Your body is the gateway. Your breath is the anchor. And your compassion is the accelerator that consciousness uses to expand. During this stage, fear may surface more loudly, not because you are regressing, but because what is unconscious is being illuminated. Do not battle it, dear ones. Observe it. Remember, dear ones, you chose to incarnate during this era of accelerated expansion. Your presence on Earth at this time is not accidental. The very questions you ask are evidence of something grander within is awakening. The expansion that the awakening process ultimately provides are sovereign ways of being and sovereign expressions. You will rely less on external authority and more on your own inner resonance. Dearest ones, Remember that when doubt arises, place your hands over your heart vortex and ask, "What feels aligned with my truth?" The answer may not be loud, but it will be apparent. Dearest ones, our message today is that we ask you to believe in your capacity to evolve. Consciousness is not expanding outward, it is unfolding inward. We, the Pleiadian Council, thank you for this opportunity to connect. We send you, your world, and all of her inhabitants our undivided love and guidance. Pleiadian Council.